A gray pipe with 2 flanges and blue bolts is clamped in a black vise.
Now we're going to show you how to replace a gasket.
A gloved hand reaches for the top flange.
And first thing you're going to want to look at when you go out in the field to replace a leaking gasket, or if you're replacing pipe, whatever it may be, is you want to make sure your equipment is isolated.
The hand points to the flange connection.
You're going to want to walk the line down, check the drains, make sure they're open, identify that it has been cleaned, and what PPE you need to wear from your PPE grid.
A large wrench is brought into view from the left.
Now you're going to want tools.
The gloved hand points to the bolts on the flange.
You're going to have to identify what you need for tools. And you always want to break your flange away from you.
The wrench is placed on a bolt, and the hand turns it.
Meaning you want to loosen the bolt furthest away from you first.
The wrench is used to loosen a bolt on the bottom flange.
So that way if there is any pressure there, it's going to blow away from you and not in your face.
The wrench is used on another bolt.
And another thing to keep in mind too, if you're working in an area, you're going to want to barricade the area off when you're doing a line break so nobody else gets, if something does happen, whether you drop a bolt or there is some pressure in the line or chemicals of any kind of severe nature, that it keeps everybody out of harm's way.
The wrench is used on a third bolt. The wrench is used on the last bolt.
So you're going to, like I said, break that bolt furthest away from you.
The gloved hand removes one of the blue bolts.
And then hit the ones according, leaving the bolt closest to you, or if it's a bigger flange, the bolts closest to you tight.
The hand wiggles the top flange to show it's loose.
So that way, when you loosen up this side, it opens up this side of the flange more, and it allows your pressure to bleed off.
The hand removes another bolt.
And once you do that, then you can take them all loose. Now, since we're just replacing a gasket, we've identified that it's loose.
The hand removes the last bolt.
What we're going to do is we're only going to take one bolt out on this because it's a 2-inch flange.
The hand pulls out a long bolt.
Now, if it's a bigger flange where you got more bolts, you just want to take enough bolts out to be able to get your gasket out. And if you're once you get into it and there's a ton of weight there, you might need to get some rigging support to hold each ends of the pipe. That way it makes your life a lot easier.
The hand separates the 2 flanges.
Now what you're going to want to do is separate your flanges, back your bolts off.
The hand pulls the top flange up, revealing a worn gasket.
Separate your flanges and use a scraper or something to push your old gasket out.
The hand removes the old gasket, which is white and circular.
And now this one is Teflon pipe, so you want to look in there if you can.
The hand points inside the pipe, showing its clean interior.
You want to make sure you get all the product out of there, or if there's old chunks of gasket left behind, or if your liner or your flange face, if you're going metal to metal flanges, you want to make sure that the flange faces are good in good condition, so it'll seal.
The hand holds up the old gasket. The hand places a new white gasket between the flanges.
Now to put your new gasket in, we're going to do the reverse. You're going to slide your gasket in.
A thin metal scraper is used to adjust the gasket.
Use your scraper so your fingers don't get pinched, and work your gasket in there. Get your bolt in.
The hand inserts a blue bolt into the flange.
Now if there's excessive
The hand pushes the flanges together.
Now if there's excessive tension on your flanges where you can't get that gasket in, you can use a pry bar to separate those flanges.
A long metal pry bar is shown.
And then also, if there's a lot of torque where you can't get them flanges lined up, you can leave a bolt out.
A metal pin bar is shown. The hand inserts a bolt into the flange. The pin bar is used to align the bolt holes.
And use the pin bar to line your flanges up as you're tightening the others. Now with this being Teflon, one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your flange faces are even with each other.
The hand adjusts the flanges to ensure they are even.
Now if it were a metal flange faces, you want to make sure the outside of your flange faces are even.
The hand points to the pipe's interior liner.
But with this being Teflon and it's got slip flanges, meaning those flanges can turn, you want to look at your liner inside the pipe.
The hand tightens the bolts with fingers.
There, now that we have those bolts tight, finger tight to hold it there, we'll go ahead and put our next bolt in. What you want to make sure is that your gasket doesn't interfere with your bolt going down the hole, and that your gasket is centered inside your flange. Next thing to do is identify the correct size torque wrench you're going to need and the torque spec you're going to use.
A torque wrench is presented. A laminated torque specification sheet is shown.
So what we have Teflon lined pipe and we have coated bolts.
The sheet shows torque values for different pipe sizes and bolt types.
It's a 2-inch flange, 5/8 bolts. We're going to start off at 9 pounds. And what you're going to want to do is you do a star pattern on these flanges.
The torque sheet is held closer to the camera, showing a table of values.
And if you get into a flange that's bigger than this, there's bolt patterns out there, and you can write your sequence on the outside of the flange so you can keep track of it. Or if it's a piece of equipment, there's bolt-up protocols out there that'll walk you through your torque specs.
The hand adjusts the torque wrench setting.
So we're going to start off at 9 pounds, set our torque wrench.
A regular wrench is used as a backer on the bolt.
You're going to want to use a backer on the back side of your wrench, back side of your bolt.
The torque wrench is applied to a bolt and it clicks. The torque wrench is used on another bolt.
And you hit the one directly across from it and do your star pattern.
The torque wrench is used on a third bolt. The torque wrench is used on the last bolt. A crow's foot wrench attachment is shown.
Now, if you can't get a socket in there, you can use a crow's foot. But that is going to change your torque. You're actually going to, when you're setting the torque wrench, it's going to affect what you're actually applying on the bolt. And there's charts out there that tells you, but it's like 7% higher torque than what you would get with a socket. So you just have to keep that in mind. And if you do use a socket on one bolt, or a crow's foot on one bolt, you're going to want to use it on all of them. So then the next step is just to turn your torque wrench up and do the same thing for the next 3 passes, for the rest of your passes, until you get to your final torque. And what you want to do on your final torque, after you do your star pattern, what you'll do is you'll get done.
The hand uses the torque wrench to tighten the bolts in a star pattern.
You'll do your star pattern. And then you're going to walk.
The hand continues to tighten the bolts around the flange.
Just go around that flange and make sure that everything that you torque them bolts till they quit moving. And then with this being Teflon pipe, you're going to want to do a retorque after either a heat cycle or 24-hour period. But other than that, that's it.